Well, hi there.
Hello.
Welcome to Open Bar 94, Last hors d'oeuvres. It's good to have everyone here. Well, everyone meaning me and Muller, because you guys are just going to be listening to this as a recording.
Everyone.
But, you're here in spirit, and you kind of are here watching this as a recording. So anyway, that's enough speculating about the future. I'm here to talk about the past, i.e. Thursday night when we did Open Bar, because we had a whole bunch of super chats here, and we're ready to go through the ones that we missed. So are you ready, Muller?
I am ready.
All right, let's launch right into it. Vimarain says, "Hi, Drinker and Company. Did you see Mahler's Fallout video? What did you think of his points? Hope to see you doing some gaming streams too." Well, good. I will hopefully be doing more Stellar Blade playthroughs in the near future. I just haven't had much time over the weekend, but looking forward to getting back into that. Changing outfits and all that. You gotta keep up with the fashions. And as for Mahler's video, it was such a fun watch because I ended up agreeing with pretty much all of his individual points. I mean, I haven't changed my assessment that I enjoyed watching the show, but I certainly can't really defend the idea that it's well written because it really isn't. And I think to some extent, maybe I went a little bit easy on it because I was just personally enjoying it, like having a bit of fun with the premise and the aesthetics of it, the feel of the Fallout world. I guess as a reviewer, we're only human ultimately, and maybe I had a little bit of a blind spot for Fallout. So yeah, Mahler's video was particularly illuminating, sir. It was very good fun to watch, and yeah, you absolutely tore apart like the whole premise of the antagonist plan making no sense, the geography of the world just being built on convenience, and everyone just happens to run into each other, and character motivations often really not making any sense. So it's a shame, but hey, every day's a school day and all that, and I guess I learned a few things from that. So something good came out of it.
That was all very nice of you, compliment-wise. I appreciate it. And it's not like an alien concept to me. As when I was first watching the first episode, when it starts up with Lucy in the outfit in the vault, explaining how life works there and doing an assessment style that evokes sort of like the RPG elements of the game, whatever. I was in a sense of like, all right, this is cool. I know Fallout. It's fine with me. But it wasn't long before I was like, especially the weird Raiders Vault 33, blah 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 blah. As you probably are. So it's like, yeah.
But like I say, it's we had a good discussion about it when we did Open Bar a few weeks back, exchanged some points and ideas and stuff, and it's always more, I guess, instructive when you see it laid out in a scripted video like that. You can certainly take it in a lot easier than you do just a casual discussion, and it's interesting stuff, man. It really is.
That is true, because like I get a feeling, like, even for both of us, like trying to make our perspective clear in a live stream where you don't even know what the conversation is going to be necessarily can be very like you can damage your own position by not properly saying what you mean to say. And so in a video, you get to have a lot more time to be like, all right, this is what I'm saying, this is what it means, and this is what I would say to the counters for it. There you go. Enjoy.
Yeah. The ability to go away, have a cup of coffee, and think about something for like 10 minutes before you make your points is invaluable when you're scripting videos. Ellis Hudson said, "With the amazing digital circus making waves and the success of Hell of a Boss and Has Been Hotel, do you think indie shows and creators are the future, and your thoughts on the shows?" Well, I hate to say that I've seen none of those shows, so I can't really give you my thoughts on the individual shows, but I really welcome the idea of like indie media, I suppose, making more of a dent. We're kind of at that point now where, the cost of filmmaking technology is coming down and down. You can use AI to create VFX that works pretty well. And so it puts relatively small budgeted productions on a much better footing, and it allows them to compete more fairly with the big boys. And I think that's great because quite often you have people making these projects that are much more passionate about the material than you would for, say, a filmmaker who's just been brought in to do the next Marvel movie or whatnot. And that's a good thing to see, and I'd like to see more of it. Maybe it just drives that spirit of competition and might force Hollywood to actually, put a bit more work and thought and care into their own movies. That'd be nice. Then everyone's a winner. Normie says, In a time where sci-fi is shit, I was happy to see Battlestar Galactica finally show up on Prime. I love the series. What is everyone's thoughts? So I loved the sort of more gritty, dirty aesthetic of Battlestar Galactica. It felt much more like an actual, military vessel. The technology was much more believable. The characters were less quippy and less kind of campy than they were in the old TV show. So that was all great stuff. Didn't like the ending. I think when they tried to marry a lot of the quasi-spiritual religious aspects of it, it didn't fit very well. And it just felt like they were never quite sure what the hell they were trying to say. And so it was one of those shows that you came away from thinking, I feel like I've watched something really good, but I don't really understand what the hell it was. And so that was like my feelings with Battlestar Galactica. Love the setup, love the characters, love the overall premise of it. But the overall, like the spiritual themes of it just didn't fit very well. So
I haven't seen it.
Well, you should, because
Terrible.
I can't believe how old it is, actually. It's like 20 years ago it was made, but it still feels relatively current. It's crazy how time passes. But yeah, man, I suppose at a time when sci-fi was still a little bit, I don't know, low budget and still a bit like family friendly for the most part, like in terms of TV shows anyway, Battlestar Galactica was just such a breath of fresh air. It was so different. So yeah, I did like it. Metal Face Rosie, it's 20 plus years in the future. You teach classes on film history and appreciation. You have to teach a class on how iconic and influential filmmaker Ryan Johnson. How would you teach the class? So, like, yeah, he's now iconic and influential. How would I teach it? I would show them TLJ and say, somehow this man became iconic and influential.
I'd probably lean into that. I'd be like, he absolutely is iconic, and he's super influential in the nature of TLJ was a flashpoint that changed a lot about not only films being made, but how they're talked about, This is something that would seem tempting to anybody who wants to have an effect on the world, as in, like, I'd rather have some effect than no effect, but I would advise against it as a cautionary tale. You never want to become the man who is seen as destroying one of the greatest, most binding cultural, civilizational artifacts of media in history. I would prefer to avoid that. Not even necessarily saying he's solely responsible or anything. It's just that's how he's seen. That is how he's iconic. He is the man who murdered Star Wars hardcore. But I mean, he's one of them.
He's definitely had an influence. You can't argue that. I was just actually curious about what he's up to now, because I haven't heard from him in quite a while. And so, really, since The Last Jedi, right? That was 2017. The only things he's done is Knives Out and Glass Onion.
Did he produce a TV show?
Yeah, he's executive produced. He's executive produced a few things. Yeah.
He's executive producer on American Fiction. Did you see that after, by the way?
No.
I recommend it. I liked it a bunch.
All right. Fair dues. Yeah. I was thinking there just in terms of, like, okay, has he gone on to great things? Has become like a real mover in Hollywood? Not really.
No. Like, let's be honest, you and I fucking thought Glass Onion was awful. So like,
that makes me a shill or something, or I don't know, a hater. I can't remember what I'm supposed to be with that. You just don't get it, drinker. It's supposed to be dumb.
I love he's got upcoming projects. Knives Out 3 is like, of course, and untitled Star Wars trilogy. It's like, shut up.
Yeah.
It's never gonna happen.
Fucking hell. Yeah. It's great that they still even talk about that. Jesse George says, I would like your thoughts on two movies I just watched, Lord of War and Dream Scenario. I thought they were very good. So out of those two, I've only seen Lord of War. That is a good movie. I liked it. Nicolas Cage was really good in it. And yeah, there's some pretty inventive filmmaking, like the bullet going from the factory to the war zone. All very cool stuff. So yeah, good film. It's been quite a while since I've seen it, though. So I actually deserve a rewatch.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. But as for the other one, Dream Scenario, I'm afraid I haven't seen that one. David Lamplow. Ryan George's pitch meeting on Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, has me dying of laughter. It came out today. You should check it out. Oh, I need to see that actually then. Have you seen it?
No, but I can imagine there's so much to work with.
Yeah, it's a target-rich environment for the pitch meeting guys. So yeah, I'll give that a watch after this. Sam Wallace Art says, reminder to watch Amazing Digital Circus for some existential dread. Why do people keep bringing up Amazing Digital Circus? Is this some spectacular piece of art that I've not really been made aware of? Yeah. All right. Okay, Filthy Casual. Did my first Longman 2.5-hour video on Halo Season 2. Screw that show. With how little video editing I do, I have even more respect for you, Mauler.
Oh, well, thank you. And congrats on your long boy.
Nice. Next one is from M8566. Undiscovered Country. When? Well,
yeah, that I mean, next week?
I'd be up for that, yeah. We had it scheduled for a couple of weeks back, but Mauler was kind of unavailable because he was trying to get his Fallout video out, so we postponed it, but we're pretty much free up now, so we'll get it done, don't worry. Azzy's wonky eyebrow says, George, hail all at the bar. Cheers. Cheers to you, my friend.
Yeah.
M8566 says, did you guys see the trailer yet for Daisy Ridley's new girl power movie? It's from Disney. She wants to swim the English Channel, but all the bad men don't want her to do it. That sounds about right. It's nice to see Daisy Ridley getting out and about and doing things, though, you know. It's not a whole lot going on there. Silent Evo says, I hate every ape I see, from chimpan A to chimpanzee. Yeah. I loved it. The Simpsons devoted like an entire segment to that. Planet of the Apes, the musical.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Troy McClure was awesome in that. Dragon Ball Z. In the new Tales of the Empire show, there are 2 more characters who survive critical lightsaber wounds. At this point, Qui-Gon dying is just a plot hole. Seems like it, yeah. It's pathetic. The former pig says, hail drinker, what peated whiskey would you recommend to a lowly former pig from Eastern Europe? I only ever had Lafroig, but I did quite enjoy it. By the way, it's been some time since you had Johnny Law on the panel. Please. Well, maybe I can bring him back in that case. As for peated whiskies, possibly Highland Park. That's a good one. And Lagavulin. Either one of those will do you just fine. Lafroig, actually, I don't like that much. The smell kind of puts me off. It's got this weird chemically smell, but it doesn't taste like that. But it's just the fact that you can smell it when you open the bottle. It's like, not quite so keen. Nathan Cassidy says, I was looking at an Oscars poster I had in my room with movie quotes. I began thinking if there were any quotable movie lines from the past 5 years, and all I could think of was, it's Morbin time. I mean, what more do you need, really? That's the ultimate movie quote. Yeah, has there been anything worth quoting? Is this where we're at? Have we got such a cultural wasteland now? We don't even have decent movie quotes?
How many years are we looking to choose from? Just the past like one or several?
You said the last 5 years, so it's a fairly wide scope.
Well, if that includes, and the line itself is not new, but I feel like it's relatively iconic from a film, being Joker saying you get what you fucking deserve.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's pretty simple, but effective.
That is the maximum of that time frame, by the way. That's 19, so... like,
Jesus, yeah.
There's got to be other stuff, maybe.
There probably will. Like, yeah. It'll come to us probably later, but... Yeah. B-Chain says, man, it's crazy how quickly they decided to make a movie adaptation of Lord of Ring Gollum. Parrot Analytics say the game was mega popular.
Yeah, there's this fucking article someone shared where it was like, this may be happening because of the popularity of the video game. What are you talking about?
I mean, people were talking about it a lot, so there's that.
That might be why they said that. Like, they checked, references over time or something, in a isolated way. But I don't think people were clamoring for a movie adaptation. But you know what? If it's accurate, if it's faithful, I'll take it.
Mega Spidey Man says, hi, CD. In Connery's voice, could you please say... The name's Drinker, Critical Drinker. To all, favorite Bond girl and why? So, I mean, Eva Green from Casino Royale takes some beating.
she might be like the legit choice, but then like a fun meme choice could be like some of the others.
The thing is, right, I think it's just because she's Eva Green. Like, I didn't find Vesper Lind as particularly like amazing a character. She's like fairly flat for a lot of the film. But
I think what she
she's
means
just
to
smoking
Bond,
hot.
like how that story works, is where a lot of value comes from. But yes, you're right. She was smoking hot. Why didn't she roll out of the way of the road? Why?
Fucking idiot.
Idiot.
Yeah, there's ones like Pussy Galore and stuff who are just
Yeah.
iconic because of partly the name. I always liked Anya from The Spy Who Loved Me, just because she was a Bond girl, but she was also like a rival agent. She was like a Russian agent that had been sent first to kill Bond, and then she ends up working with him for a while. But you know, she's actually pretty good at what she does, and she's kind of like a good foil for him. She's not just like a girl in a bikini to get saved. So I quite liked her as a character.
You know, is it bad when I'm sifting through the names in my head? I'm like Ivana Humpalot. I'm like, no, that's Austin Powers.
Yeah. Well, hold on a minute. I know if I type in like top Bond girls, it's going to be like lists compiled by fucking like Collider or whatever, and it'll all be the modern ones. Honey Rider, obviously. Tatiana Romanova. Kissy Suzuki. What the fuck one was that? Oh, that was from that weird like unofficial Connery one, like Never Say Never Again or something.
Oh yeah.
Kissy Suzuki. Solitaire. Yeah, that was Jane Seymour. She was pretty hot. Grace Jones. She was fucking terrifying. She was in like Roger Moore's final one. And it honestly looked like she could beat him up because he was about 80 years old at that point. That also had Christopher Walken in it, and that was probably the most unhinged I've ever seen him in a film. It was amazing. Anyway, I'll move on. Derek says, am I the only one who finds Zendaya bloody annoying? She spends the whole of Dune 2 with that stupid frown on her face. Thankfully, the movie had Florence Pugh, who is infinitely more attractive. Okay.
Florence Pugh is barely any either, right? Like,
yeah, there's quite a lot to unpack with this statement here. Where do I begin? I find Zendaya weirdly annoying just on a meta level. I don't know what she's like in real life or anything, but yeah, maybe it's just because she's played quite a few fairly annoying characters. In terms of her performance in Dune, I guess that's just what Villeneuve asked her to do. Like, it's not necessarily her. It's just like she's playing a slightly annoying version of the Chani character, who's incidentally way different in the books. But yeah, I don't really know. What can I cite as like a good example of her acting? Don't say Spider-Man.
I don't think you can. Well, I was about to say I don't think you can. Well, because she may have one or two moments that push her slightly in No Way Home, but she's really not tested that much as an actress in those movies. I haven't seen her. I was about to say solo movies. Obviously, what I mean is her movies where she's like the only thing they're marketing with.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot to say about her. Like a lot of people say, like they're trying to make her happen. I'm just like, yeah. I mean, she's like a lot of other people in the history of Hollywood that get just plastered everywhere. But you're like, why?
Yeah, I think that's possibly the reason or the source of my irritation, where it's like I feel like you're artificially trying to make her a star when she isn't, and I think a lot of it's going to hinge on her latest movie. What is it called again? It's like Champions or something.
It began with C. Yeah, that's what I remember. I was going to say Challenges.
It might be that actually. Hold on, let's see if I can find it. Challengers. That's it.
Oh, it is. Okay, yeah, fair.
Yeah. Is that out now? Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure, but yeah, I feel like maybe that's her first big solo outing, and maybe if that film flops, then we might not be hearing quite as much about her. So,
I mean, the thing is, like, Tom Holland has done a whole bunch of projects on his own that haven't done well, right? As far as I'm aware. So if he can't, you'd think she's going to have trouble. But then maybe she has a whole audience that I'm not aware of. To be fair, she was a model, was her thing, correct?
She's got the kind of look of a model, you know, like kind of big and statuesque. So it could well be. And yeah, talking about Florence Pugh, with Florence Pugh, like I never quite understood it. Like, help me understand. Like, people totally sing her praises. I don't find her that attractive. She's kind of short and dumpy looking, and I don't know, man. Just never appealed to me that much.
I will say, I think I gave her the only good acting in the Black Widow movie. Remember, she's like having that breakdown at the table, and she like, it was like, there you go, she did something.
I mean, yeah, the whole movie is just clown time. I mean, it's hard to like pick out anything good in terms of performance.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is I don't know of really anything else. I'm trying to think of like what movies have I even seen her in. Obviously, I was not a fan of what was it called?
Midsummer.
Yeah. She's kind of in that film. The Dune. It's not even fair to say she was in Dune Part 2. She just walks around and says some lines. It's not very. Oppenheimer was there.
Yeah, again, I don't feel like the movie necessarily asked that much from her.
I liked her in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. She was Goldilocks.
Okay,
there you go.
Oh, you know what it is? I see pictures of her, right? And the ones that keep coming up are where she's got like a buzz cut and a nose ring, and it's like, I don't know, man. It's like painting a penis on the Mona Lisa or something. Just like, why would you're not really improving things there. Yeah, what has she been in? Let's have a look. Father of the Bride Part 3. Blah.
They made that?
Yeah.
What even is that?
So,
there's so many films
romantic
that I haven't seen. The Little Drummer Girl, Outlaw King, Malevolent.
Don't Worry, Darling. That was a big deal a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Because it had like Harry Styles in it. Because he's convinced he can act.
I forget what. I remember someone telling me what that film was about, and I was like, oh, that sounds like it could be interesting, but I guess didn't do well.
No. I do remember people talking about it. I think it was a bit of a like, the patriarchy is horrible or whatever.
Oh yeah, wasn't this film had like a famously bad production, or at least everybody on set hated each other or something?
Probably.
Something like that. I remember there was like viral clips of Olivia Wilde, Chris. But yeah, didn't Olivia Wilde like lose her husband over this film?
I don't know.
Jason, the guy from what's it called? The TV show that ended like a year ago or two.
Hold on. So let's see what was in it. Don't worry, darling. So
Jason Sudeikis, was it? Is that the name of the guy?
Oh yeah, he's in Ted Lasso.
That's what I was thinking about. Yeah, I could have sworn. I feel like I'm making this up, but didn't he like serve divorce papers to her while she was on stage or something? She like cheated on him. This could be something I'm just making up from other pieces of information, but I remember vaguely seeing someone share that, and I was like, "What?"
Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, Wilde was publicly served with court documents regarding child custody while she was presenting "Don't Worry, Darling" at CinemaCon 2022.
I knew it. Yeah, it was wild.
Damn, he looks so different when he doesn't have a tash.
Fucking hell!
Yeah,
imagine that.
Ted Lasso, man, that's a show that went off the fucking cliff. Like, I really liked season 1 of that. I thought that was a great show. Really heartwarming, nice characters, funny, great stuff. Season 2 was pretty iffy, and then season 3's just been fucking garbage. I don't know what happened.
I never watched it, but what did happen? What was it like? Not funny anymore? Or?
Yeah, like Ted himself, like what was really endearing and about him was like he was the eternal optimist, and he was kind of super nice to people, and like even when people insulted him, he didn't really rise to it. And like it's in the first season, it works because he always kind of prevailed, and there was almost like a method to his madness. Like he always had something else up his sleeve, and it was like he could turn things to his advantage, which was all great. But then he just became like a parody of himself by season 3. Where he's just annoying now. He's just like chirpy, fucking irritating. He doesn't actually. He's been like working for the Premier League for like 3 years, and he still doesn't fucking know anything about football. You know, stuff like that is just annoying. There's no progression to him, and he's barely in most of the episodes now. It's like, you know, there'll be a whole like 3-episode arc focusing on a lesbian relationship between a tertiary character and someone else that we've never heard of before. Like, why are you showing us this? This isn't part of the narrative. And just stuff like that. It just feels like it's totally lost its focus. So, yeah, it's a shame. Used to be good.
Yeah, fair enough.
James Bursey, now that Mauler has exposed your heretical enjoyment of Fallout, what's the cash grift for you to walk naked through Glasgow while Melanie Mack rings the bell of shame? It's going to take a lot to get me to do that, mostly because of all the restraining orders against public nudity that I've already got. So, I don't want to get in more trouble from that. But hey, I did acknowledge it and I did apologize to Mauler. So there you go.
What? Apologize for enjoying a TV show.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I promise, Mauler, I'll never like anything again. Ranbin says, any thoughts on the recently announced Lord of the Rings double films with Peter Jackson producing and Walsh and Boyan's writing? Andy Serkis will direct one of them, which has Gollum in it. Yes, we talked quite extensively about this on Open Bar at the time. Bit perplexed why they chose to make a movie about the hunt for Gollum. Not really sure if there's any reference material to draw on there, because I don't remember any from the books apart from like 3 paragraphs. So, yeah. I feel like there's better stories to tell out there. I'm not necessarily against the old band getting back together to do more Lord of the Rings movies. I think there's lots of additional stories in that great narrative of Lord of the Rings that you could probably explore. Just don't think this is one of them. Jordan Pendragon, there's something happening where the pre-live super chats get skipped somehow because you missed my monumentally brilliant comment from last week. Well, I don't know how. I think one of my mods brought this up with me. When I read out super chats on the night, right, I can just go to the live stream panel on YouTube Studio where I can view all activity from subscribers. So every gift or like super gift or super sticker or super chat that comes up, it's all listed there. So I go them, when I do my super chats, I just go from the beginning all the way through. Then when I do something like this where I'm catching up on them, I just bring up the earnings tab on YouTube and then go to super chat and super sticker activity. And again, it should list everything from the start of the stream. So I don't know how I can miss it, I'm not sure. Like if there is ones that I'm missing, I do apologize, but I'm just trying to work with what I have here. Snex says 100% unrefined Schlurpo is the ultimate plot armor. It deflects blaster bolts, lightsabers, and criticism. Truly an item that some consider to be unnatural. What do you reckon, Mauler? Is Schlurpo unnatural?
It's, I don't want to make any definitive claims because it can kind of be natural and unnatural all at the same time. Remember, it's you can kind of apply it to a lot of things. It's kind of the fundamental substance of the universe, Schlurpo. So
wow, it's in the fabric of everything around us. Would you say?
Yeah, like mostly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jordan Pendragon. I facetiously propose that you have a few dozen people volunteer to temporarily unsubscribe and then resubscribe so that you can again celebrate hitting 2 million subscribers and have it coincide with Open Bar 100. I mean, that would be an interesting experience, just constantly hover around the 2 million mark and, have a big celebration and get drunk every time I cross it. Mate Havlik says, reboot, Gina Carano is Xena with Sydney Sweeney as Gabrielle. Now you're talking. I'd vote for that. We can make that work. I'm always in favor of casting Sydney Sweeney in things as well. Make it happen. Thrill House says, sometimes I put Platoon in one ear and Mauler in the other while watching Fallout. It gives me schizophrenia, but I finally found happiness. Cheers.
All right.
Finbar says, hey, Drinker, hope you're well. Could you do a tribute to Bernard Hill from Lord of the Rings and the Boys from the Black Stuff? He was an amazing actor. He absolutely was, yeah. I'm pretty sure we spoke about him on Open Bar as well. But yeah, man, his portrayal of Theoden was just the stuff of legend. I can't really picture any other actor carrying it off as well as he did. And, I think he had some of the best monologues, the best speeches in the entire trilogy.
He brought so much weight to Theoden, really made him feel like an aged character that's been through fucking everything, kind of.
Yeah. And yeah, I even liked him as the captain in the Titanic. He is the spitting image of the real guy, and again, played the role extremely well. I just would have liked to have seen him in more things post Lord of the Rings, because he didn't do that many big movies afterwards. It's kind of a shame. I feel like he would have been red hot in Hollywood, but maybe I guess there's not as many roles open for older actors like that. You know, it starts to the parts start to narrow down quite a bit. Piston says, question for the whole panel. Would you rather be stuck in a forest with a TLJ fan or a wild bear? My money is on the bear, so I don't get bored to death. I might be inclined to agree, actually. I feel like I could reason with the bear more easily than I could a TLJ fan as well, so there's that.
Move away slowly from the bear. The bear is happy in the forest, all right? It's fine.
Yeah. TLJ fans don't want anyone to be happy. Arigato says, pop quiz, hotshot. There's a bomb on a bus. Once the bus goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed. If it drops below 50, it blows up. What do you do? Probably keep it above 50 and then find a way to get all the passengers off with another bus and then let it crash into an aircraft and blow up on an airport. So that would be my plan. Damaster says, Korn's first album was released in 1994. Damn. Yeah, I need to find more facts to put into my not so interesting compilation for each year. Michael Cece says, Drinker, my uncle must have gotten kicked in the head because he thinks Rings of Power is the greatest adaptation of Tolkien's work and is absolutely true to the source material. Set him straight. I mean, I've made some pretty lengthy videos talking about it, at least lengthy by my standards. So I would urge you to go to them. And Mahler's probably spent quite a bit of time talking about Rings of Power as well in his time.
Well, we're always ready for more, eh?
Theoretically, we're going to get season 2. And the trailer must be coming out fairly soon. I mean, they know they're going to get absolutely savaged when it comes out. So I don't imagine they're desperate to release it, but they're going to have to eventually.
I'm more curious about season 3 than I am about 2. 2 is just going to be... We already know it's going to be a mess, but I wonder if 3's... First of all, how much is it going to happen? Will the budget go down, or will they start to realize this is a bad idea? There's no point running it out to the 5 seasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, supposedly it's under contract, so breaking it would be tricky. But like I say, you can have truncated seasons. You can have super low budget. There's ways around it, but wow, what a flop that series has been. Magnum Norse says, the hunt for global communism. I love the EU. Okay, that went on a different tangent than I expected, but sure. Castigan says, Zendaya is Gollum. Just imagine. That's brutal. Nick Brown says, Gollum wins the argument. Okay. Social Morlock. Make that book accurate. Tom Bombadil film, cowards. I would go with that. I'd love to see Tom Bombadil on screen. That is a bonkers section of the book, but it's weirdly compelling at the same time. Tony C. Mahler. Can you tell my nephew Michael that he is retarded? He thinks Michael Burnham is sexier than Haley Atwell. I think he played too much gay chicken in the Marines.
Michael.
Go.
Michael, you are retarded. Haley Atwell is so much hotter. Just saying, okay? I didn't even. It wasn't even me that said it. We actually just me and Drake, just before we started this, we got back from the science team, and they've done all the tests, literally every one, and that's what they said. The conclusion is, it's not even me. I'm not even the one saying this. It's just truth.
There were beakers, there were Bunsen burners all over the place.
Yeah,
they scienced the shit out of it, and
they had notes.
Included it. Haley Atwell, she is objectively hot.
We saw the periodic table in the room, so we knew.
Yeah. Arigato says, up next, Bombadil, a Middle-earth story. Make it happen. Casey Boyd. There are franchises for current generations. They're just not produced by the West. Good point, actually. Nicholas Reiser says, do Ents get morning wood? Sauron. I think they probably do, yeah. They've all got to start their day the same way. Nino W says, Sam NZ, 8 a.m. New Zealand time for an open bar. What a treat. Nice. I mean, yeah, it's a bit more awkward to drink at that time of day, but you can find a way. Jay Smart says, make 6 films and call it the Gollum Ultimatum. Why not? Hunt the MacGuffin says, new movie, Hunt the MacGuffin. Simple, obvious, go for it. Okay. This next one is a biggie, so bear with me while I read it. Screwball Sector says, hail the open bar. First time super chat, long time lurker. Mahler, I watched your video, enjoyed the whole thing. Couple of questions still in my head. Why did they need a code for the MacGuffin that the scientist built, used on tech built and programmed by Boss Lady and her people? Well, I think that's because Vault-Tec bought the rights to it, and so they made it proprietary.
It's something I spoke about in the video. It's so her company was on the verge of finalizing Cold Fusion. Then Vault-Tec buy it out, and so they presumably either complete the project or they lock it up so that you can only continue / using it if you have access that relates to their like coding systems or whatever. But in the world of Fallout, they make it clear that hacking shit is like super easy. And then of course if it were her companies that got bought out in a way that like she hates, you know, she's like, oh no, Vault-Tec are doing it, brr, I don't like them. Like you'd think she would have kept all the things, all the things necessary to be able to replicate the technology, you know, in such a way that
notes and stuff, presumably.
She what? Sorry,
she must have notes and records of everything that she did to build this stuff. So
just like blueprints or copies, video, all the information that's needed to make Cold Fusion. Surely she has it. And then once the world ends, she's apparently able to facilitate everything except the code. And it's just like, so surely you can get around the code if you just build it up from, you know, it's like,
plus,
I don't know.
I mean, if you have created a clean, renewable, abundantly, you know, attainable energy source, like essentially unlimited energy for anyone who controls it, why on earth would you let your company get bought over by anyone? You would become the biggest, most successful, richest company on the planet overnight if you had this kind of technology at your fingertips.
And so it's like, yeah, you're gonna crush every other company in the world as soon as you crack infinite energy. That's gonna make you dominate.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. She had 200 years. Was she too busy getting her hair done? Because it looks like she just left the salon. Why is there an activation code at all? Her company developed it. Did she seriously not hang on to anything that she could use to copy it?
Well, I mean, yeah, we kind of went over that. But as for the 200 years, everyone's just been speculating, and that we'll get it in season 2 as to what she did in those 200 years. If she was frozen, if she was this, if she was that, why she got unfrozen when she did, if she did. And honestly, it's kind of weird because I think in the flashback she kind of looks younger than she does in the Cooper flashback, as in like the flashback of when they're in Shady Sands when it's not been blown up. She looks kind of younger. So maybe there'll be some grand twist. Maybe she has a twin.
I honestly don't think they put that much thought into it, though.
I don't think Mulday was going to be fucking mentioned again. She might, of course. You know, like how Wilzig, her, and plenty of other characters who are dead now need things filled in. And some fans are like, yeah, they're going to pad it all out in season 2. And it's like, I don't think so, guys. I think they're going to move on.
He carries on saying, did the Enclave have to steal it from Vault-Tec, or did she tell them how to build it? Couldn't Smarty Pants build it without the need for a code? Or are we to believe that this bint is actually respecting pre-war copyright and patent laws?
I don't think so. It's very much designed for you to not think about it.
And lastly, if they did that, the story would be about a man and or the ghoul going from A to B. Lucy and the vaults wouldn't be needed at all, and the only major female character would be the villain. Can't have your checkboxes be the bad guys. Might be something in that, you know. Social Morlock. The True Game series by Sherry S. Tepper would be a great show / film series. Also, The Apprentice Adept series by Piers Anthony. Keep the nudity, please. Always keep the nudity.
Every time.
John Gates says, God's sake, there's 16 mainline Final Fantasy games, most of which have well-done fantasy and or sci-fi stories. The series is a damn anthology, so it doesn't even bank on member berries except for remakes. So there's 16 stories to take a stab at, Hollywood. I mean, I respect your intentions there, but good God, trying to represent Final Fantasy stories in live action with somewhat believable, you know, laws of physics and worlds. Yeah, good luck with that. Because I mean, that is some bonkers shit that those games deal with. They even struggle a little bit with the remake of 7 because, how can I put this? There's scenes where the main character charges at a group of easily platoon strength soldiers armed with assault rifles who are all shooting at him, and he is not bulletproof. Like, one bullet to the head would just straight up kill him, but he's able to deflect all of the shots with his sword and just kind of run into them, and none of them manage to hit him. Like, they have to make things like that somewhat work in cutscenes, and it looks a bit goofy even then. So, yeah, I don't think you get away with that in live action, man. G. Owen Wares says Glenn Cook's Black Company could make for a phenomenal film series. If you haven't read them, I highly suggest that you do so. Okay, thanks for the recommendation. Hasselhapa. There have been murmurs of a TV adaptation for Robert E. Feist's Rift War cycle for a while now. Could be great, but Hannah Friedman from Willow and Obi-Wan Kenobi is involved as a writer. Well, that's quite the pedigree right there, isn't it? You could pretty much write the show off if that's the case. Bruno Corbella. Sorry, Lara's lying right beside me on the floor, and she's doing that weird dog thing where they're like dreaming and moving around.
Running.
Yeah, and she's doing that weird like right, go and stop that, would you? You're messing with my vibe here.
Dream somewhere else.
Yeah, just dream about being asleep or something where you don't have to move. Bruno Corbella says, I know Disney is shamelessly mining their IPs, but I'd love to see a Pirates 6 film with the return of Johnny Depp, the main cast, Gore Verbinski, and Hans Zimmer. The franchise deserves a decent send-off. Yeah, probably never going to happen at this point, really, is it? Are they still pushing ahead with like the female-led Pirates movie?
I think that got stopped, didn't it?
I heard. I can't concentrate. Stop doing that. Stop being weird. Wake up. Right, hold on. I'm going to throw a sock at her. You, wake up. All right. Damn it. This is the kind of thing I have to deal with on a daily basis. It's a nightmare. Okay. J Smart says, is the world too civilized to make good authors? I don't know if it's too civilized. It's just
too civilized. That's a strange way to put it, isn't it?
Well, I get what they're saying is that, you know, a lot of authors of the past might have had quite difficult life experiences, whether it's like going off to fight in wars or, you know, living through turbulent times politically or socially or economically or whatever. It breeds a more interesting kind of person who's had a lot of life experiences to draw on and work into their fiction. And if you don't have that, maybe you're lacking a little bit as an artist. I don't know. It's something to think on, I suppose.
I suppose one could argue, like, yeah, those guys didn't have it hard compared to the many generations before, had it even harder, and so on and so on and so on. But you, relatively speaking, you would want someone to have experienced something difficult that leads to them. I do wonder about just difficulties in general being something that leads you to want to express yourself more as like an artist, that having experienced something that was maybe traumatic or daunting in any way, shape, or form makes you want to talk about it, to explain it, to help people understand it, and therefore, I don't know, boosts your abilities as an artist versus someone who's just sitting around, you know, comfortable and being like, I could tell a story, sure. The guy went to kill the dragon and he did it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just having experienced that breadth of I guess, human emotions and experiences just makes you perhaps a more rounded person. And it gives you a bit more depth to your character, I suppose. And particularly, like, I don't know, it makes for interesting stories that you can just work into your narrative. Like, you know, the kind of stupid shit that happens in daily life that you would never really be able to make up. It just might be funny stories or unexpected events or whatever. And like quite often those things just give a kind of authenticity to stories because it's stuff that's just feels more believable, I suppose. It's difficult. It's a difficult one to define because a person with really good imagination can probably just come up with equally good stuff. But I think sometimes you can tell when an author is drawing on some real experiences, like whether it's just a cool turn of phrase or the way they describe people or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's probably based on someone this guy's met, you know, and that's kind of cool. I like that. One nerdy perspective says, Fringy on the panel. If the Star Wars original trilogy was made today, who would you like to see playing the lead characters? Thanks, legends. I don't know. Who would we have? Who'd be our Luke? Tom Holland? Would that be a thing? Is that just, are we just casting him because it's like he's your generic go-to guy?
I don't know. I don't know who we'd be looking at. I mean, I wonder who do we have that can play Han Solo?
Pedro Pascal. I would cast him in every role just because why not? I would have Sydney Sweeney as Princess Leia.
Of course.
Yeah, just thinking who would be a good Emperor Palpatine?
Fucking Willem Dafoe.
That's actually not bad. Yeah, I'll go with that. Rolf says, "Do you think War of the Rohirrim will be any good?" This is a weird one because it's an animated movie, isn't it? But they've got some of the original actors back to do their voices.
Yeah,
I feel like it could be awesome. Actually, I mean, it could obviously go anyway potentially, but I feel like it's got some good potential there. So I'm not going to discount it or anything. I just want to see some of it. I want to see a trailer. I want to see something that I can grapple with at least and give me a feel for what it's going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
Silo 101 says, sad that Chris Gore believes the Star Wars was saved in the edit myth. Show him the video. Watch it live. Is that what we should do? We should force him.
Could do.
Force him to believe. I actually need to watch that video that you referenced for me because it's apparently really, really good, really interesting. So, yeah, need to see it. The Sundowners Club says, Serkis has really only directed one movie of any wide release, and that was Venom 2 that made $350 million less than the original. And that's who they're going to let direct a Lord of the Rings spin-off. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. Do you think that was like contingent on him performing? You know, yeah, I'll come back as Gollum, but I want to direct it as well.
I guess we'll never know. I feel like we'll discover more all about this in the years to come, you know, like, because it seems like such a strange thing that's happening. And maybe once time passes, we'll get a better picture of what all of this even is, because it's just such a weird bit of news. It sounds fake. Like, oh, we're coming back to make a film. It's going to be all about Gollum. It's like, what?
Shadamain says, would Forrest Gump be popular if it came out today? Which I think is kind of an interesting question, right? Because if we just look beyond the fact that, like, you know, it's a pretty good movie with a nice moral message and stuff. The era that it deals with, like that period from what, say, the 1950s up to like the 80s. So it's really centered around like the 60s and like the Vietnam War, all that sort of thing. The movie came out in what, 94? So all that stuff was still relatively recent, like Vietnam and stuff. And like a lot of the people who lived through those times were of cinema going age by that point. Like they, maybe if you were a teenager or you were really into like the 60s and all the protests and stuff that came with it, you were perhaps a parent by that point and you would take your kids to go see Forrest Gump, or, you know, at least if they were a certain age. I guess what I'm saying is like that stuff probably was very relevant to the audience of the time. Whereas if it was to come out now, like an extra 30 years has passed. And I don't know, maybe for today's audience, they just wouldn't be able to connect with it in the same way as people did back in the 90s.
And it's hard to disagree with that. I feel like it's really difficult to figure out. Actually, I think more than ever, we're in a difficult patch to figure out what the audience actually wants.
Yeah.
I don't think that the success of Barbie and Oppenheimer tells us fuck all.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting summer movie season, I guess. Cadis says, Mueller was 100% right about Fallout. Great video. There you go.
Probably like 99. I'm sure I've made a mistake or two.
I'll find something in it. Matt PG says, evening, everyone. Outstanding panel tonight. Would love to know what kind of microphone everyone uses. You guys sound great. Oh, it's nice to get a compliment like that. I think you and I have got the same one, actually. It's like an AT 2020.
Oh, I upgraded to the Shure microphone, but that's one I did use. Though I assume it didn't make too much of a difference, since I don't think much people noticed the changeover. But let me find out. I'll get the name of it. It's a little bit more expensive, but yeah, I would recommend the AT 2020. I don't even know if you can buy the AT 2020 anymore. I don't know if there's like a newer version.
It probably is. I imagine they upgrade them every couple of years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had good service out of it. It's Yeah, good for cancelling out echoes and stuff like that. So yeah, I've got no issues. Nicholas Chesitsuri says, Is it more realistic to think of Lord of the Rings as some kind of once in a lifetime anomaly? Is it actually fair to compare most of the films we see today to them? And if not, then what is the standard? I mean, I guess I would put The Lord of the Rings as like an aspirational standard for big budget movies. It's proof that you can marry big, bombastic, epic movies with huge budgets, with amazing storytelling and great acting. Like, it can be done, and that is the goal that you should aim for if you can.
It reminds me of did you see Late Night with the Devil by any chance?
No, I've heard it recommended to me a few times though.
I very much enjoyed it. You can tell when watching it that there is, I guess, for lack of a better term, an artistry that's pushing it forward, because they're working with obviously a low budget, and they're simultaneously evoking this, but they are actually making the best of limited resources, right? Because it's a very small film. Let me, if I can find the opening. Oh, worldwide it made 11 million. It's like, it's not bad for well, actually, it's not bad until you discover the budget, which is, I think, 1.1 million.
Wow.
Or 1 to 1.5 million range. That's the budget. And I was just thinking to myself, of course, as everyone does, you could make what, 200 of them for the cost of the Marvels?
Yeah.
And it's like, we all admit that this is a thing, but like, it'll just never happen. Seemingly, it'd never be an actual experiment anyone's going to run. And it's just like, Lord of the Rings is the same thing. I see it as like, we know how to do it. It's right there, but we're never going to do it again, are we? And it's like, why? It's like, I don't know. It feels like there's just too much of all these different things in the way. Things that have developed, things that have rotted, all these different systems and blockages, and even just the way things are made in Hollywood, the amount of steps it has to go through. I'm pretty sure when you look at the production of Lord of the Rings before it even starts, it's lucky we got what we got, even for that time. You know what I mean? Like, that's
well, yeah.
like,
there was a lot of arguments about them wanting to do 2 movies instead of 3. Like, different studios passed up on it. Like, yeah, it could have been an absolute disaster if we just didn't get that perfect combination of, director, the right producers, the right vision for what it was going to be.
And I just think that I just want to see that alternate timeline where the money like that is just spent on crazy tiny projects, and we get loads of them. And because that's kind of the meme with A24, isn't it?
Exactly. I was about to reference them. Yeah, that's essentially what they do. The scattergun approach. It's like, we throw a whole bunch of shit against the wall, low budget, but some of it's bound to be a hit.
Like, imagine if the MCU decided, among everything else, that they were like, we are going to put away 200 million, split into 200 projects. They're going to make them all, and then depending on how good we think they are when they reach their final, we will add them to canon or not.
Yeah.
And if they didn't add them to canon, they just throw them out. It's a $1 million project. It's going on the theaters. Good luck.
The problem is, I don't even trust their judgment about what they would consider good.
No. I feel like doing that would still be cool. Like, if everyone just checked out a selection of that 200, then we gotta have like one good one, right?
You think so? Yeah,
like one.
Surely. Just give us one good film. Thomas Bergman. Part of Star Wars' success was its limited budget, limited timescale. George was forced to work within boundaries that would be considered tortuous today. Godzilla -1 is a prime example. I mean, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's easy for us to say, like, constraints like that, financial or whatever, they breed innovation and inventiveness, which is true, but they can also kill a project.
Yeah, doesn't that feel like a hindsight thing?
Yeah, because I'm sure there'll be a ton of movies that, like, they had grand ideas and they didn't have the budget to make it happen, and the film either just completely fell apart as a project or they produced something dog shit.
Well, let's say we got a team together who are all raring to go, and they're all really creative people for every aspect of a film, and they say, we need a budget of 100 million. And then me and Drinker go, all right, you have 80, because that means that you'll work better and you'll make something better. It's like,
yeah.
What? Like, that's these things, they come about from horrible things happening, things going wrong, or desperation, or a really great scale, a scope of imagination, and a way to not bring it down. But because I totally understand, I would even say it applies to us somewhat in a very, very smaller scale way that like, oh, you only had like 10 days to make this video or this recording or this piece of writing. And it's it's one of the projects people like the most from you. Isn't that crazy? It's like, yeah, you never know how that's going to work, but I don't think you can make that into a reasonable like format of, I am going to provide opportunities for filmmakers to create films, but I will always cut their budget by 30% once they give it to me of what they want, no matter what it is. It's just like, because especially at that point, people just start, over asking by 30%.
Yeah.
So that it goes back down to normal.
Frosty Film Watcher. Question for the panel. Any hope of Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim being good? Are good Lord of the Rings movies possible anymore? Yeah, we literally just discussed this.
Yeah.
I would hope that they still can be. I'd hope that like we can still produce good Lord of the Rings movies or just good movies in general. But yeah, as Muller said, the rot has set into the point where it's not the same Hollywood that it was 20 years ago when they made the original trilogy. Northern English Bastard says, check out Hell Comes to Frogtown, a campy apocalyptic adventure with Roddy Piper as a man called Sam Hell, as well as mutated toads and hot babes. Yep, I have seen Hell Comes to Frogtown, and I can't say my life is richer for having seen it, but it was definitely an experience. Yeah, it was just that. It was that interesting period where Roddy Piper was appearing in movies. I mean, you're never going to top They Live, but that movie was mental. Next one is Matt PG. Cheers to all. I just love when I get home early and I get to see Open Bar live out in the garage on the big screen. I'm loving the mini retrospective you do at the beginning of the stream. I'm 46 and it's great to relive the 90s. Cheers, man. Appreciate that. Superfly. Can you stop saying what else is there to destroy? Every time you all say it, they destroy something else. It's like saying, how can it get any worse? I mean,
a little bit.
I mean, in terms of franchises, there's not many more I can think of that are left, but yeah.
I mean, we mentioned it, but like we've got House of the Dragon and Arcane on the way. And by the way, this very night, Smiling Friends Season 2 is coming out. So there are things to look forward to.
Matt PG, I think it's a combination of theater fatigue and the prices. Unless it's a massively hyped film, folks will just wait for streaming. I think you're probably very correct on that one as well. Yeah, when I think about what motivates me to go to the cinema now, it takes something kind of special. There is that temptation to just wait for it to come out on streaming or other methods and just not bother going to the movies. So maybe, yeah, it's just going to be more event films from now on. Barry Ryan says, Fall Guy, a movie about movie stars stuntman that no one wants to watch a movie about Hollywood trying to make themselves look good. I mean, I didn't get that impression from the film. Like, it seems to be quite, a bit of a piss take, if anything, of like the wastage and the egos and stuff of a big movie production. So it's not something like La La Land where it's just Hollywood sucking its own dick. Like, it seemed like something a bit more self-deprecating than that. Aloha Boy says, regarding the new Superman, all I want is a Sailor Moon transformation scene, just like in the latest Tumblr Superman animated series. I dare you, James Gunn. Do it.
Yep.
Woodsy says, Ryan Gosling is no Lee Majors. The Fall Guy from the TV series was a man's man, not Ken. I think that's a bit unfair. I don't think Ryan Gosling's like a wimpy guy, Yeah, he played Ken, but that's one role. And yeah, as far as comparing it to the TV show, I don't really have a point of comparison, sadly. It's funny because the clip that I put up on my second channel, like all the comments are like, you guys totally forgot that there was a TV show. This isn't an original IP. It's based on the TV show. It's like, I know, I get it. I think we misspoke on the night. But to be fair, most of us weren't alive when the TV show was out. And I don't think it's like, some iconic piece of 80s TV, that everyone knows about. Like the Fall Guy, as far as I know, was fairly forgettable.
Well, like it's literally the first I've heard of it. So
yeah, we apologize. We're not old enough to have experienced it, and we're not Americans, so we didn't see every show that was on back then. Mo Zislak, golfing. Watch later. Here's money. Hail RMB. I like that. Short and to the point. Albert Nada Retro. Gosling is a simp and has no business playing a man's man like Colt Seavers. Last time his sack got wet was when his wife dropped her purse in a puddle. What is with all this hate for Ryan Gosling? I don't get it.
Is it just because he was in Barbie? Because like he's a versatile actor. He's been going for decades doing great roles. Like I don't know.
What's Drive? Like,
well, yeah, there's. I mean, you know, he's famous for several. Like, isn't Blade Runner 2049 like one of the ones that he always gets memed into? Because he, like, I like him in that film. I'm not a fan of the film, but still, I don't know. But like The Nice Guys, he's good with comedy. He's pretty good with drama. Like, I don't know. I've always felt like Ryan Gosling's pretty good.
Yeah. Solid Gold CEO. Fall Guy looked like a generic rom-com in some advertising and an action comedy in others. Yeah, I mean, we did talk about the advertising just being a bit muddled and meandering. It just felt like, I don't know, it didn't make it seem like any kind of event that we should get excited for. I guess that's the problem. It did seem like a bit of a generic action flick, so probably didn't do their job very well there. The Hidden Duck says, Mauler, have you played the first Life is Strange? I remember being shocked how good the story turned out when I played it 10 years ago. Sequels got progressively more woke, but the original is an awesome story-driven game.
I can't remember if I ever played it, but ER did a pretty famous video on it, making fun of it excessively for how bad it was. So I'd be curious of your thoughts on ER's video. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always feel awkward when I don't have an opinion really myself, but I know, like, you know, if like you did a video, you know, annihilating some film, and then someone was like, "I love that movie. What do you think, Muller?" I'm like,
Mark Jameson, keep in mind that it's also a retread of the old TV show called The Fall Guy. Yeah, we just sort of mentioned that there. Disregard says, I think the Madam Copter from Madam Web was brilliant marketing. I mean, yeah, really showed in the box office. I to the C to the E says, I didn't trust the marketing for Fall Guy. It felt like they were trying to trick me into watching a rom-com. Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. Yeah, Blaze Stone says, I agree that movie standards need to be higher than I don't hate you, but we need to reward any steps in the right direction. So as long as they're decent, no shit, or sorry, not shit, but at least decent. Yeah, that was, I think, in response to Platoon's comment about that, which I think was fair play at the time.
The problem, I guess, we have then is that we're all going to disagree on what the right steps are or what evidence of a good step is. Because one step in the direction of less preachy but also terrible, is that a good step or is that a lateral step?
Yeah, and this is why I think Fall Guy represents a step in the right direction, in that it's a fairly bland, inoffensive movie that's not great, but not terrible either, but it also doesn't preach at you. So I'm like, okay, so you've essentially got no preaching, it doesn't hate me, and it's an okay-ish film. It's average. So like that's moving in the right direction. If we can now go from average to pretty good, and then hopefully from pretty good to great, then I would consider that the right track to be on. Matt PG, outside of Tom Cruise, what actor or actress has drawn you out to the theater? I don't know if we've got any now. So anyone that you would actually go to see? Just
unfortunately, a lot of the people that I feel like I would do it for, I don't even know if they're still doing it. Like Patrick Stewart / Ian McKellen / Anthony Hopkins. I know that they've all done theater work, but I had say, for example, they were all going to be a part of some play in my area. I would probably go to see that.
I think they mean movie theaters rather than.
Oh, I thought you said theater in general. I might have missed that. Sorry.
They did say theater, but I think that's just their way of saying movie theaters. So.
Okay, well, for movies, is there an individual actor? I mean, to be fair, your recommendation plus the fact that it was Anthony Hopkins got me to go see One Life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not to meme, but he's probably one of the few remaining people that I would go and see a movie if he's in it. And I'm not talking about like fucking Transformers where he turns up as some character talking about something. I mean like a film that's based around him as a character actor.
Yeah. So you wouldn't have gone to see Rebel Moon at the cinema, just
not for him. I would have gone to see it for Zack Snyder's artistry. I wouldn't have been.
Of course.
Can you imagine living a life not having seen that incredible execution scene, the backstabbing scene? That's just. We are benefited by having seen that.
Do it. Kill her.
Did you like when that popped up in the Fallout video?
It's just amazing. It's like, yeah, I could see it being the kind of thing that gets used more often. Jimber Jamber says, did you know that the loading wheel icon on your mouse is called a throbber? Whoa.
No, I didn't.
Didn't know that. Timmy04 says, Mauler, have you tried Bailey's tiramisu flavor? It's really nice, though I prefer the original.
I've tried that. I like the orange flavor as well. There's a couple of others, but the original's pretty damn good.
So you can drink yourself a tiramisu.
Mm.
That sounds good. Do you ever have a cocktail, or I think it's a shooter called a brain hemorrhage, where they put Bailey's in, and I think they mix it with tequila? And I think it causes the Baileys to curdle. And so you kind of have to chew the Baileys once it gets in your mouth.
That is
it's
not...
legit one.
Yeah,
it's one of the most minging things I've ever had.
At that point, I was just like, can I just drink them one by one instead of together? Like, they're not meant to be together.
Box office brawler. Gentlemen, which character is more of a disgrace to Star Wars, Rey or Sabine? It doesn't get much worse than these two. I don't know, Ahsoka's pretty bad. I mean, probably Sabine, on the basis that Rey at least has some sort of personality, or she shows emotion on occasion. So,
did we talk about this somewhere recently? Like, just if Rey reappeared, like seeing Rey turn up in any particular story is such a feeling of like, oh, it's Rey.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, you're like, I'm not particularly like, oh god, it's Rey. I'm also just like, huh, there she is.
Yeah.
What's she gonna do now? She's so like,
You once described her as like her personality is as bland as her fucking clothes, and I could never quite shake that impression.
Yeah, meanwhile Sabine like annoys me.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. We'll be getting a lot more of Sabine, but I suppose we'll get more of Rey as well. Who knows?
Yeah. Horse Lover Fat says Gollum is just a dirty word they call people who aren't insane. There's a quote for us. Timmy04, so good to see Fringy. Mauler, are you EFAPers going to react to Tex's new video on Zack Snyder? Seems like he's actually criticizing him for once.
Wait, cover who, sorry?
Tex. Apparently.
He's criticizing Snyder.
Yeah.
Wow. I know we covered something to do. I don't know if we covered a Tex video or something. I think we did years ago. He's very much a Snyder sort of like, holding the flag forever sort of thing. So that's interesting. Didn't have any intentions to cover any video from him from about that, but that's interesting. I'm glad he's having a character arc. I hope everyone does. Snyder needs to be not stopped. He just needs to stop giving him hundreds of millions of dollars.
It is the Jesse meme all over again. Like, he can't keep getting away with this. Zodlander says, we need more throwaway action movies. They need to come back. I mean, I'd rather have good action movies, but yeah, like there is something to be said for just like the kind of put your brain in neutral and just watch stuff explode action flick. I guess the kind of thing that you used to get in the 80s and 90s. I think they've got a place, and I could do with some. The Unassuming David says, sorry for another recommendation, but have to shout out Pillars of the Earth, an 8-part 2010 historical series with Hayley Atwell. Yes, she shows them. And Ian McShane. Epic story told very well. Does she get them out? I don't believe you. I don't believe she's ever been. Pillars of the Earth?
Don't even think I've heard of it.
Hold on.
Mini series from 2010.
Yep. Is that Donald Sutherland as well?
That's quite a cast I got here.
Yeah, what even is this thing?
I've literally never heard of this.
No. I'm going to have to research that more later to see if she does get them out. Stand by, gentlemen. I'll get back to you with more information about that later. Rory Swain says, Hail the Drinker, Mauler and Co. Did you watch Eurovision? Can't believe my own country sent out 2 priests to sing a song about a lovely horse. It's a classic. Yeah, didn't watch it myself. Eurovision just makes me feel faintly sick now, so yeah, I'm not really a fan. Did you spend all evening watching it, Mauler? I think it was last night it was on, the final.
I didn't even really know it was happening. I'm so sorry.
No. You missed out. Kevin O'Neill says, I bet Disney execs will have an eyes wide shut party when Disney Plus makes its first dollar of profit and call it a success. I wouldn't put it past them. It will happen eventually. They will make some money out of it. Adam Twomley, games as a live service need to change. Nothing will dislodge COD, Fortnite, and GTA Online. Everything else is late to the party and doomed to fail. Well, there you go. Jay Fraser. Hail, gents. R.I.P. Bernard Hill. Fourth Aer Lingus. Indeed. Avarth says, Stargate is a good standard for sci-fi. It was. I mean, it was a good standard for late 90s, early 2000s sci-fi. I think we've probably progressed a little bit in terms of like the maturity level and stuff, but it was a good show back in the day. John Kelsey gave us $10. Thanks, man. Akimbo Toast says, in the US, Regal has been screening one Christopher Nolan movie a week. I just got out of Dunkirk. Where does Dunkirk rank amongst Nolan's other films? Where would you put it? You're a bit of a Nolan man.
Competently made, outside of like, I remember having issues with the sound, but that's almost every one of his films. The story I felt needed better, stronger character work to bind us to the story, because Dunkirk, I watched it and I almost can't remember a fucking thing other than feeling like I've gotten the event, but I haven't gotten people that I needed to attach myself to it, despite the fact that they have like several POV stories, you know? Always felt Nolan was pretty weak on that, with Prestige being a huge fucking exception, because that film doesn't work other than being a character study of two very, potent people. But like I have the same sort of issue with Inception. I remember Cobb is like the only character. The rest of them have found difficult to even understand anything about. And Interstellar, it's just Coop. Like he's the only real character in it. The others I feel like don't have anywhere near enough work, and it's just something of a problem he has.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean Dunkirk, I'd have nicer things to say about it compared to some of his other work, but ultimately I just didn't care about it that much.
He always felt like just such a weird choice to direct a fairly straight up war movie like Dunkirk. It just doesn't seem like it's in his wheelhouse. Not that he couldn't do it, like from a competency point of view, just like I don't know what it was about that story that appealed to him and his sensibilities as a filmmaker. Because it's so outside of what he normally covers. Like he's the sci-fi guy with the crazy concepts and like the graphs and everything all over a board that like outline the plot. This was just a fairly straight up war movie, although the
So what's funny is I could see them picking him after Oppenheimer. But like, because he did Tenet.
But then Oppenheimer was more complex than Dunkirk.
Well, I guess,
like it's not a story about battle or anything.
No, of course. It's just that I could see the connection better in terms of like it's about history or something. But
well, yeah, I guess.
But it's like the latest thing he did was Tenet after Dunkirk, and like comparing those two, even
Yeah. Harry Langdon says Oasis's 1994 debut album Definitely Maybe turns 30 this year. I'm lucky enough to have LG tickets for next month. I heard you like Oasis, Drinker. Don't know where you heard that. I'm fairly like chill with them, I suppose. Like I remember listening to some of their stuff back when I was in high school. Kind of lost interest after that, but yeah, no real issue with Oasis, I suppose. Matt PG says currently watching Firefly for the first time and loving it. I forgot how smoking hot Morena Baccarin is. She is pretty hot.
Yeah.
Papa Chef. For Robert, do you think that new Trek writers are just trying to time lock Star Trek? They've written prequels and written time travel to the future. So with that, yeah, there's always this weird attempt to like control the past and the future of a franchise. So like you've bookended it, and it's almost like you've encircled it now. So like whatever influence the older generations of writers had over it, you now control the majority. And it's a bit slimy, and I don't like that style of doing things. I'd rather you just progressed forward with your narrative. It's it's a bit shitty. Albert Nada Retro says James Gunn ditched Cavill because of his previous relationship with Gina Carano. I'm guessing they're still friends, and he sided with Disney firing her. I have no idea about that, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'm not sure what his motivation was. OMG Puppies says, as the panel said, modern screenwriters have limited experience with stories. Can imagine that AI will do much better since it can literally read everything and watch everything. I mean, I hope not. Really don't want that world. Wild Song says, that symbol on his chest means hope, and it's tarnished. Inadvertently deep that was. Ooh. Moshi Cat says, hey, drinker and panel. I'm from 94, so The Lion King and PlayStation is top tier. Just spent 5 days in Scotland. God, what a beautiful country you have. Thanks to you, I got to find 2 of the sexiest voices on YouTube, Mauler and Platoon. Waiting for the Attack on Titan review.
Wow, you couldn't have thrown Drinker in as the third awesome voice.
No, I'm a distant third.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed Scotland, man. Syrup Sailor says, armored suit may hint at power nerf.
Perhaps, who knows?
I don't think his suit is armored, though. It's just padding. Like, I think it's just the actual tailoring of it rather than...
That's what I figured, but I guess we can't know until we see it.
Yeah. Daily Dose says, hi, Kingdom feels like it was made by someone who only watched Rise and skipped the other 2. What was that hopeful ending? It's the same ending as Dawn, but that brought war 300 years later, my ass. I'm not sure then. I'll need to watch it first. Probably going to see it tomorrow. Maybe do a review if I feel anything about it. Jay Fraser says, have you seen James Gunn's pre-Guardians of the Galaxy films? The Specials, Slither, and Super? If not, I highly recommend them. So...
I've seen Super. I want to see Slither. I never got around to it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I think I've seen Super. Thought it was pretty good, to be fair. Joe Call says, Guardians of the Flame series of books by Joel Rosenberg would make an amazing film. Cool. A lot of fantasy recommendations here. John Burns says, met Neve Campbell from Wild Things, The Craft, and Scream. What, you're telling us that you met her, or are you just citing her as an example of someone who's hot? I'm not sure. That's all I got from this super chat here. What's the next one? Marine Lad. Best or 3 top film scripts. Also, drinker, you may be sedentary 4 to 9 hours on days for YouTube. What's your exercise routine and diet? How do you stay fit? So, yeah, I guess what you're saying is if I'm sat here making YouTube videos each day, what do I do? Well, I try to spend as much time moving around in between as possible. So I might sit for an hour and do work. And then it's I need to get up and move and go somewhere and preferably be outside and get some sun and fresh air. And then once I'm finished for that work day, I'll usually try and get some time in at the gym. There's a swimming pool not too far away from me. I can drive there and get a swim and stuff as well. So all those things just hopefully add up and stop me getting too horrendously out of shape. And as for film scripts, yeah, I guess this is a question for both of us, really. What was our favorites? I think it's ultimately going to come down to favorite films as well. I
think so.
If you've got a favorite film, then it's probably going to be a large part due to the script. So yours is probably Prestige, as you've said before. It's a pretty tight script in terms of the consistency and stuff.
What does come to my mind first, funnily enough, with best script is actually Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because a lot of the artistry in a film can go beyond the script, which I wouldn't deny of any of my favorite films. It's just that Hot Fuzz, it's where my mind goes every time in terms of appreciating every last word that is spoken in that film.
Yeah. I've quite often cited Tremors as a good example of a film that nails that 20-minute rule. You know, it's like the first 20 minutes of the movie should introduce like all the main characters, the setup, the antagonist, the challenge they've got to overcome, and get the story rolling. And it does it perfectly. And it makes it feel just completely natural. Like, oh, I don't sense the script at work here trying to push things forward. It just all happens. And it's nice when you get that sense of flow. It's like, yeah, they spent a bit of time thinking about this one to make it as efficient as possible. Aided Clock says, now everything happens on Tatooine, the most boring planet. I think you mean Tatooine. So, yeah, it is. Fucking the world of Star Wars has shrunk down to like 3 planets now. Everything just happens there. It's so fucking limited now.
Yeah.
World War II trooper. The Acolyte's themes sound like Leslie trying to legitimize and cope with her dark past through Star Wars. Could be. Dutch Schaefer says, this panel and its discussions have been absolutely enthralling. Keep it up, guys. Thank you. We will do our best.
Yeah.
Stuntman Mike says, it's not just the message that's keep people out of theaters. It's just too damn expensive now. Wages haven't kept up with inflation, and this is what happens. Industries crumble when average people have scarce passive income. Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that for sure. And yeah, like they really have hiked up ticket prices for movie theaters, haven't they, over the past 5 or 10 years? It's kind of absurd. And it skews the box office results as well because it makes movies look more successful than they actually are. Larry says, made you look. Yes, you did. You keep making me look, Larry. You always get me. Jay Fraser, according to a new study, young people aged 13 to 24 are looking for less or even no sex scenes in TV and movies. What are your thoughts? And do you agree?
Do I agree? Like, why would I ever agree with that? To give as much I don't know backing to. I had friends who felt that they couldn't watch Game of Thrones because there's too much sex in it. I've never had trouble with that in media, not just from Kuma Brain or anything. I just literally don't. I've always contextualized it as humanity doing their thing. So like,
yeah,
it comes across. You know what bothers me more is, and this happens in so much fucking stuff. It's like passionate sex scene, and then they both sigh because the scene cuts in right as they finish, which is totally fine, and they're both fully clothed. Like,
yeah.
What? Like, how does that work? And you're like, oh, yeah, it's just their preference. You're like, okie dokie. Like, you don't have to be that scared of presenting sex.
Or it'll be the whole like the sheets will be positioned in such a way that it covers the girl's chest and the guy's like torso is exposed. So it's just like, again, it's just like nobody fucking does that after they've just been humping. Like,
no, and
you've just seen each other naked. You're not going to suddenly feel the need to cover up now.
I feel like there's so many great examples of scenes like that that actually enhance character relationships. Just off the top of my head, right? Like Terminator 1, that scene is very valuable for understanding what these two mean to each other despite the limited time they've had. So no, I've never taken issue with it if it's got purpose. And even if it really doesn't have purpose, I don't really mind that much, especially, of course, if they're higher rated for age. Because, as I said, it's just normal human behavior.
Yeah. I think this ties into like because he references a study, and I think it was the premise being that Gen Z are going to be like the most sort of sexually sterile generation that there's ever been. Like, they're just not into it anymore. And I don't know if it's like conditioning or what, but it's just like they're afraid to even go near each other now. And they want that reflected in the media that they consume. And it's a bit sad because, like you say, it's a component of human relationships. It's a component of being human. And yeah, it's just a bit weird that you're going to end up with this like blandly sterile, kind of puritanical outlook on media.
Yeah, because like I'm also all in favor of the whole like I get annoyed if they have a man and a woman are together and they automatically have to become romantic. I get that there's value in having multiple kinds of relationships, but outright just no to any sex in general, not even sex scenes, just sex. It's like, that's lame.
Yeah. Keith Ringer says, at the start of the stream, Brandon Sanderson is our generation's Tolkien, in my opinion, but he's been trying for years for an adaptation of his stories, and Hollywood keeps stonewalling him. It's annoying. So I kind of wonder why. Like, what is it that they don't like? Because it feels like there's... is he presumably a fantasy author as well? You know, it feels like there should be a lot of openings for big franchises like that. Like, there's clearly an appetite for fantasy stuff. We're still getting it made, and we've yet to find something that's become the new Game of Thrones. Clearly, people were trying to do it. Like House of the Dragon, fine, that was successful, but it's only had one series so far, and I don't feel it's like the kind of pop culture phenomenon that Game of Thrones was. It's just like, yeah, okay, you guys did okay there.
Nice. Well, no, and even if it does climb anywhere close to that, it'll be ending before it has a chance to do anything like that.
Yeah. James Moore says, Ethan is in the Resident Evil 8 DLC where it's all in Rosie's mind with the mold memory, and listen, stuff gets weird, all right? Hard to explain. Such a fucking non-character, Ethan. Like, I just...
Yeah.
Because Resident Evil has got so many big personalities and so many memorable characters. Like, then you've got this guy, and like the devs couldn't seem to decide if he was just like a Gordon Freeman, like voiceless, faceless protagonist, or if he was going to be like an actual fleshed out character. So he's just this bland in between blob of nothing. Yeah, I never got him. I can totally get behind this idea of an everyman being thrust into the world of Resident Evil, and like, oh my god, like you feel super vulnerable because you're not like a soldier or a special forces operative or something. That's fair enough, but at least give him a fucking personality of some kind. Weird. Star Trekker says, hey guys, I can't go on holiday now thanks to Robert, but I do have Quark's Bar and Bridge from Star Trek TOS coming in. My 6 scales needed somewhere to get drunk, reminisce, and wonder what the hell happened to Star Trek. Damn, that's pretty cool. So you'll have a whole setup there for everything. Seymour UK says, do you have any plans to get G-Man Lives back on Open Bar to talk video games? I would happily have him back. Yeah, it's been a while. Again, he's like one of those crazy Aussies, so like his schedule is going to be really shit compared to ours. Like it'll be really difficult to get the time zones to sync up, but yeah, I'd have him back on. Silent Evil. Talk about Walton Goggins getting name recognition for Fallout. I thought the same for Terry O'Quinn, a journeyman of film and TV. Thanks to Lost, he'll forever be known as John Motherfucking Locke.
Yeah, it does happen. People who you're super familiar with, and everyone else is like, I know that guy now because of this TV show appears. You're like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Cosmic Zombie says, Mr. Burnett, I've gone through all of the chore books on your recommendation, and I must say, very good call, sir. The angle of ecological invasion is very cool. Release the 5th book. Well, maybe we'll get it one day. Vladik Gorbanov says, Mr. Drinker, when will you get married? I'm married to YouTube and booze. That's the only wedding I need. John Burns says, oh, great. Critical Drinker clones, lol. Yeah, we need more of me. Mo Zislak, Homer, that's the worst name I've ever heard. Okay. Casey Boyd, I can't wait for the Alien sequel where we find out that the alien queens are just misunderstood, and the only reason they had to repopulate on other planets is because they were forced out by the patriarchy. I mean, it'll happen. The alien queen, she was a single mother doing her best to raise her kids in a man's world. John Burns says, end of Newhart, great twist. Okay. Jonathan Showalter says, Mueller, I would love to see you do a compare and contrast analysis of Mr. House and Andrew Ryan. Both are so well written, superbly voiced, and are just the chef's kiss of video game characters.
Yeah. I mean, I might not be the guy for it, but that would be an interesting comparison for sure.
And last one is OMG Puppies, who says, have you seen the 1950s style trailer remakes by YouTube artist Demon Flying Fox? They're uncanny and funny. I have seen, yeah, they're in like Panavision or something. It's very cool. Yeah, it's very interesting. And it's pretty amazing what you can render these days. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff. But anyway, that is the final super chat from our list. And as someone mentioned before, hopefully we actually got them all tonight. I've gone through every one that I can see, so there's nothing left. So yeah, hopefully we didn't miss out on any.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah. But that is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.